Already not loving the implications of that.
That she's not a kid?
No, that she's getting abused.
What do you mean it's not abused?
She pulled her eye down. She put her glasses down. She had this big old bruise over just one eye. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stone Face Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of GQuuuuuuX, the new Gundam show. Obviously, we're on episode 3 now. I think, as you all know, we're at least going to be 1 week behind in recording of everything. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're probably 4 weeks behind everything.
Yeah.
But that's what the Patreon's for. Let's see. We have notes, we have comments, but first off, I think we have a board.
Let's see what the board has for us today.
And of course, with the board comes the board changelog, where I have added Denim, Slender, Dren, Temray, Paulo Cassius, Mulligan. Here, real quick, intersection here before we keep going with that list. The transcription says he's like Maligan or something like that. Behind the voice, if you read the subtitles don't say Mulligan, they say Meowligan or something like that. Behind the voice actors, the website that I get the character images from calls him Mulligan. Mulligan was a character from the OG, so I'm assuming that's probably meant to be Mulligan, and maybe the transcriber or translators got it wrong.
Yeah. Trying to go for the phonetical as opposed to the...
Of course, though, we also have Dr. Flanagan, Kaisilia Zabi, McQueeve, not listed, but recognized, Uragang, who was standing beside McQueeve in that shot, and Jar Asnable. I added Dozel Zabi, Jean, Garma Zabi, and Giran Zabi as mentions, not seen, but talked about. Marked Paulo Cassius and Dozel Zabi as dead.
One day Benoa is a mention from Ben Nova, who is a famous sci-fi writer.
Yeah, the Orion series is one of my favorites. Wait, you said Ben Nova. You mean Ben Bova?
Ben Bova, yeah. I don't know why I say Ben Nova, but that doesn't make any sense.
I'll be honest, actually, now that I'm saying Ben Bova out loud, that also sounds wrong. I know what you're talking about. Again, Orion Among the Stars is like one of the first...
I could be wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right.
We're talking about the same person. I just think we're getting the name wrong, and I feel bad about that, but I'm not going to Google it. Orion Among the Stars was my first sci-fi books of them that I read, and then I went on and read a bunch of the other ones. I've talked at length before about the Orion series on this channel. I don't know what shows. Maybe even during the RPG days, I might have brought it up. Ahriman and the Neanderthals and gods in the future actually being humans in the future, just with high-tech shit.
I'll say that I'm wrong, you're right, and we'll continue.
Okay. Well, like I said, I wasn't going to Google it, but apparently we can't stop you sometimes. Future me can stop you, much like a god from the future. Anyway.
Power of editing!
Yeah. Well, it's editing, but time travel, right? Any notes about the board?
I like the fact that we got all the Levi brothers in one place. Slender, Denon, the other guys.
Well, no, you don't remember because the other guy's only mentioned. So he's across the board in the mentioned area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got notes about him.
John, yeah.
I mean, not mentioned yet, but I've got a bunch of notes, more than you. Because I couldn't let anything go from reference-wise. It's the old rule that I used to bring up about the reacting to stuff. Say the obvious stuff out loud, or people won't know that you know it.
Aside from that, really, not a lot of notes. I mean, I do like the redesign of the mobile suits with all the retro rockets, especially the crotch. You know, they have rockets everywhere now. Rocket engines, rocket nozzles everywhere, which kind of makes sense. They're supposed to be first and foremost space vehicles, so yeah.
All right, well, if that's all we have for the board, then of course we have notes. And as per the rules of notes, I have more, which means I go first. Normally I'd have a breakdown of the opening in some form, but there's not really a lot I feel like I can read into here. The lyrics clearly imply a happy ending is coming, and that the two main characters are going to fall for one another. The animation shows Machu in clan battles, which was the expected thing to see from the show. I guess the only other things would be the fact that our failed new type pilot is actually a main enough character to be featured in the intro, by which I mean of the 6 people, not the Harus or the other thing, running along in the credit title drop thing. The Red Gundam will fight alongside the White Gundam, and that there's a third non-Zeon character in the main lineup that we haven't seen yet. I had a more of a breakdown element of the first lyric that showed up on screen. Literally refers to what if I hadn't met you there at the ticket station thing, which is literally where Machu meets our... Again, I don't think they've named her, the other character, the runner, yet. Yeah. What if I hadn't met you there? And it's like, oh, this is a literally written for the show song, it feels like. But then some of the other lyrics are either haven't happened yet, or... I don't know. Here's the thing, is I did a whole breakdown about the Witch from Mercury second core ending song, and about what each lyric might mean about what might happen in the show as it referred to things that we had seen. But that came as a result of being the ending song of the second core. So I had all the hints from the first core to try and build up a, what does this mean from that ending. This is like the second episode. I can't really guess what we might be referencing here just yet.
I mean, technically, I suspect that the other, new type character from Zeon, he's going to try to get his suit back because it belongs to Zeon. It's a top of the line suit, right? So, yeah. Otherwise, it's gonna head will roll. I mean, I don't think Caecilia is going to go like, "Oh, you just lost my top of the line Gundam suit in a technically neutral state, so they could seize it and use it for themselves. How about I kill you now? Do you want to die quickly or slowly?"
One, Caecilia would never say that. 2, they tried to take it, side 6. So...
I mean, no, but it was lost because the pilot left the canopy. And
I would argue it was lost because side 6 military police tried to take it. Like, literally, they pointed a gun at him, said, "Step away from it." If she hadn't have taken it, they would have taken it. So...
Tyler Bull was told, "No, you're not supposed. The one thing we're not supposed to do is deploy the suit." Which...
No, I thought they weren't. No. You're misremembering. They're not supposed to deploy the suit. They're not supposed to activate the Saikamu system, is what they were told. They were literally loaned the suit. That would be super... I'm sorry about to say a word you're not supposed to use anymore. That would be super dumb to loan them the suit not to use. What do you do? Just like, look at it. It's pretty cool. Can I hold it? Yeah. Don't play with it, though. Like, what? Yeah,
either way,
it's the Saikamu system. They were not allowed to use that.
Which is still kind of dumb, because that's...
Well, I would argue it's the difference between, hey, that's a cool-looking gun, can I hold it? Yeah, don't shoot it, though. It feels like that, right? Like, cool.
Yeah. And because they deployed the suit and tried to deploy the Saikamu drive in it, then when somebody who could use it got into it, then got and stole the suit. Either way, Caecilia is not known for forgiving failure.
Well, what I said is, I said she wouldn't say that. Caecilia is also not known for warning you ahead of time.
Yeah, that's true. She just shoots.
I mean, hell, you remember back in Origin, she shot the guy like 3 times and then told him what he did wrong.
Yeah. Object lesson for everyone else in the room: don't do what he did. Which is kind of the point of shooting him, actually. So my 1 of 3 note, my first note. This is nearly shot-by-shot recreation of the opening of 079, said it was Char and not Slender that did the thing. This episode is more notable for all the characters that didn't show up, like Amuro, Sila, Artesia, and Lala.
I mean, that's literally also going to be my second note. I do want to add, you're saying it's like shot for shot. Obviously, it's shot for shot to a point, because obviously we time jump.
Almost.
Yeah,
almost.
That was also, the thing that's jumping in I'm adding to my thought as I'm thinking it, obviously. It's shot for shot to a point, but the thing I was actually going to focus on was the fact that we had double the amount of mid-credit things. Because you remember in the OG, we just had the Gundam comes out with a sword, ta-da-da, or whatever it was that they did.
No, they did twice because it was once, and then when it came back,
there was one without. Well, no, because there was one without the Gundam, where it was just the title card, and then we had some more episode, and then the Gundam comes out and does the thing, and then we do. But they do the voice thing at the same time. I guess it's a product of modern has more commercial break than we did back in the day. So by necessity, they had to do it more than once, whereas back in the day, we only did it once. Well, that's the main thing that jumped out at me when it comes to what's the difference here. It's like, well, why did we just do a or whatever? Again, I don't remember what they do, but it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing from back then. So why did we do an extra one? I guess the need for commercial breaks has changed since 1979. My note in line with your note. So in the main timeline, it was Slender, Jean, and Denim that entered Side 7 with Denim in charge and Jean being the one breaking orders to try and be more like Char. This time we have Slender, Char, and Denim, with Char in charge. Denim even mentions that they left Jean behind, and then Dren later mentions that his Zaku is still being repaired. Denim, of course, comments that he sees a single vehicle on the road, which I commented must have been Amuro, but I was incorrect. The first car that Denim saw in the OG timeline was nobody. Afterwards, he sees Fra running over to Amuro's house, which he doesn't mention this time, because back then he actually mentioned seeing somebody. Instead, Char implies that the civilians have already evacuated, which would be a difference.
Yeah. But did they evacuate to... No, well, yeah, because in the original, they went to the bunkers first, and then they went to the White Base.
Right, they lock down, and then they go to evacuate. Or here, again, we don't know if Char is a reliable narrator either, but he might just not see anybody. They could be in lockdown, and he assumes that they evacuate. However, the fact that White Base is not prepared, when he shows up would imply that they haven't gotten on board that either. I don't know. Could be that in this timeline, they just literally did get on board civilian ships, flew off to Luna 2 or whatever. We don't know. Yeah. I think I have some future note that implies that more timeline changes have happened beyond just beyond Char getting to the Gundam. Like, stuff that happens before then. I'll wait to get there because I also have a meta commentary about why or why not they might be changes.
Okay, my second to last note. That end, well, it makes more sense for certain viewers than others. We will get there eventually.
I think I missed the first word you said.
That end.
That end.
That
okay.
ending. That end.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it doesn't make much sense to me, but I thought that you didn't know much stuff about after the 1 Year War, right?
I don't know a lot, like 80-90%, but there are a couple of things that I do know, mostly toward...
I'm guessing that they're not... I'm not asking you to tell me. I'm just putting it out there. I'm guessing that whatever it is in the UC timeline, they don't call it a Zek Nova, because you did not know what Zek Nova was in the moment when it was happening.
Yeah, I didn't know what a Zek Nova was, but once I saw it...
Well, obviously, since I don't know what it is, I have notes about it here, too, so...
Yeah, so I'm like, oh... They may have mentioned it somewhere else and called it a Zek Nova, but I doubt it.
Well, it hasn't come up yet in our watch through, which again is right now, as of this recording, Origin,
we're way,
Mobile Suit Gundam.
Way off.
No, for the purposes of the people who are not watching our other stuff. Origin, Mobile Suit Gundam, MS Igloo, both of them, and then MS Igloo 2. And we are currently wrapping up 8th MS Team, then to head on to, I keep saying Revengeance, Requiem for Vengeance.
Requiem for Vengeance, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing the whole UC timeline. We're just still in the midst of the 1 Year War in that watch through. Okay. Rocking Horse Shaped Warship. I gotta say, even worse nickname. At least I can get the Trojan Horse because it looks like a wooden horse, maybe. but a rocking horse should be able to rock. If you put white base on the ground, that's the one thing it shouldn't do.
In fact, to be perfectly honest, it looks more like the Sphinx than a horse.
I could see it.
Yeah. Especially if it's lying on the ground like this. It's like,
I guess you want to lean more into European mythos than you do North African mythos.
Well, I think part of the thing of a Trojan horse is it's more warlike and surprising, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that. But I mean, here's the thought that just occurred to me. Which do you think is more globally known, the Trojan horse or the Sphinx?
We don't know. I don't know the. I think the Sphinx, actually, if you think about it, because it's one of the wonders of the world and people visit it. I don't know the state of education in this.
I don't think the Sphinx is a wonder of the world. I think the pyramids are. I think you group the Sphinx and the pyramids together, because of proximity, but I don't think the Sphinx itself is a wonder of the world. But then again, existing does not a requirement of the wonder of the world. The Colossus of Rhodes doesn't exist anymore, but it's still a wonder of the world.
The ancients wonder of the world. Modern wonders of the world are different, yeah. And again, I don't know the status of the educational system or what is emphasized.
Well, it doesn't have to be education. It could just be like, what's a cool mythos thing that people talked about, right? Like Atlantis isn't even like real. Or I mean, what are these weird what are these weird ruins in the water in the Atlantic, or most of the time the Mediterranean? And it's like, Atlantis. This old guy in an old book once wrote about a place that was here. Let's call it Atlantis. And it's like, okay, so now Atlantis is just in the zeitgeist. So do people think about the Sphinx? Well, this might just be a product of what age we live in. Yu-Gi-Oh, I think, might have pushed the Sphinx out there because they talk about ancient Egyptian whatever, and they use that for a thing. And Yu-Gi-Oh got pretty popular. Versus how much is influenced by Troy. If you're not like a big fan of Brad Pitt, say, you probably don't know a lot. Or Monty Python. I don't know. That's the only product of that came into my head. All right, well, let's crack out your last thought.
Oh, it's very simple. And the war ended 3 days after after the same war in 079. Because the war in 79 ends in
the armistice was signed on January 1st. This is a truce on January 3rd, so 2 days.
That's it. Those are my notes.
Okay, very, very short. I guess Char's words are some sort of vindication for OG Gene. Denim warns him not to be hasty to seek his glory, and he points out that Lieutenant Commander Char built his career on actual combat. Now, AU Char is asking if Denim thinks he's the kind of man who'd let a chance for glory get away, implying that anyone in the position that Gene was in who's anything like Char would have always done what they did. Gene, unfortunately, just wasn't Char and couldn't pull it off.
I mean, yeah. I think I
should also point out that when I had questions about anything, I actually went back and rewatched the beginning of that episode of the OG Mobile Suit Gundam. That's how I know that the first car going by that Denim spots isn't Amaru.
Didn't Gene actually fall down when he tried to land on the side of that hill?
I thought that was intentional.
79.
I brought that up when we were watching this episode. Like, oh, he should fall back now, because I thought it was a stealth maneuver or a better get into position to fire maneuver. I assumed it was intentional.
But when we see here, Char doesn't fall down, which means that Gene was a little more clumsy than Char.
Well, not only does he not fall down, nobody falls down. So even if it wasn't Gene, nobody falls down this time.
Yeah.
But again, my read was it was intentional.
I I think now, back then I was like, oh, that happened. But now comparing it to two, because again, shot by shot, Char is in a position where Gene would have been. He lands his red comet perfectly, right? Versus Gene, when they're both landing, it's Denim. Denim is the one that is, using the binoculars.
Denim was in charge last time. Denim is now secondary to Char this time.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to go. You don't even have to go that far. Again, as I pointed out before, Gene isn't there because his Zaku is being repaired. That has to be the implication that Gene is a little more reckless or clumsy or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
That he's not here because he got hurt last time, and now he's not on mission. Which I want to see the third AU that then has Gene and Char together to see what happens. Since we didn't have nearly as much crossfire as in the OG, I'm guessing that William Kemp might not have been killed in the initial attack like before. So it seems likely to me that he was either the one piloting the gun cannon or the RX-78-01. It really depends on what is going on. The implication that Char makes that everyone successfully evacuated rather than being in the midst of evacuating like in the OG could imply that Kemp made it to Luna 2, and as the test pilot for the Gundam, I think it makes more sense that he'd likely be the one piloting the RX-78-01 instead. However, the fact that he was likely killed in the initial attack in the OG would imply that he was likely on base here inside 7, which could mean that he would be in position to man the gun cannon in defense of Side 7.
Either way.
Dead now.
We don't get to see it. Yeah.
Sorry, completing your thought, either way, dead now.
Well, if it was him, it could have been someone else.
It would be really random for it to not be him in either case. In my estimation, 50% chance of him here, 50% chance him there, but Sub-Zero has to equal out to 100% chance either way. Denim. That's the power of the Federation forces and mobile suits? Or is it the commander's own strength? Well, having gotten to see it in 2 different timelines, that's the power of the Federation forces mobile suit. As Amuro was able to do the same thing, it cannot then be uniquely Char's own strength.
True, but one of the things about the original was where does the Gundam begin and where does Amuro end? And at the beginning, it was 90%, 80, 90%, 95% the Gundam, and Amuro just being the guy who pushed buttons and did levers. By the end of the show, it was 90% Amuro, 10% the Gundam, because the Gundam couldn't keep up with him anymore, right? So I think this statement goes to that, what is the pilot versus the machine. Here, I think clearly the machine is pretty powerful.
Well, I mean,
I'm leaning
towards the aspect that you, a trained expert, can do it, and it makes everybody like, oh my god, that guy's amazing. And then you handed the controller over to like a little kid, and the little kid does the same exact thing. It's like, oh, maybe the thing is good. And I think this is the proof. We handed it over to a little kid. Char calls this the first mobile suit combat in history, which would be incorrect if the timeline before this moment were the same as the OG. I know people will argue with me over the canonicity of origin to the OG, but we've made our stance clear in this channel. Everything that doesn't contradict the existing history of the OG, we take as canon. Meaning the Iron Cavalry existed, as did the Battle of Mare Smithy on the moon. So either that didn't happen here, or Char is wrong. I don't think Char could be wrong, as he took part in that battle, and would be the best person to know. So I'm going with just didn't happen here.
But he was known for being ace from the Battle of Loom, so yeah. That's why he has combat experience.
Well, the Battle of Loom didn't feature mobile suit versus mobile suit combat, yeah.
It was fighters and ships, but no.
Yeah, so he can still be... sorry, I keep thinking of Mulaflaga from Gundam Seed, the the Hawk of Endymion. I keep forgetting Char's
Yeah.
name now. Now that we've finished Gundam Seed, now it's a useless fact to me. But yeah, no. Again, I really like that battle. It's like one of the coolest battles in Origin. I don't remember it as the Battle of Mare Smithy. I had to like look that one up to see if the battle had a name. But I just really love the name Iron Cavalry. That's just a really cool name. So we get a brief shot of the entire White Base Bridge before Char kills everyone on it. There are only 4 officers on deck, and none of them look like Bright Noah. So entirely possible he isn't dead.
Yeah, I mean, he was a junior officer. He was an ensign, so he probably wasn't even his duty station. He was stationed somewhere else.
No,
Right?
I mean, we can see the entire shot of the bridge. We got the 2 people on the elevated perches. We got Paulo in his little floaty chair thing, and we got the person in navigation. Nobody else is in the background. Sorry, voice crack. Nobody else is in the background anywhere. There's only 4 people on the bridge as far as we can tell. And in the OG timeline, Bright Noah would have been on the bridge. I think he would have been standing next to Paulo. So that's why our comments come from the place of, oh, Bright's dead. But he might not have been on the bridge. At the same time, I don't know where the fuck he would be, considering they take the fucking ship. He might just be dead as a consequence of off-screen shit. But, he's not on the board because he's not even mentioned. Of course, why would you? Like, as you said, he's like a junior officer. Well, he's not even a junior officer, now that I think about it.
No, he's an officer.
He's in training. He's in training. Because remember, when Matilda comes back, like, the second time, I think, she sends in the message from Revel that we're, like, promoting you on site to a junior officer grade.
No. That was later. He became a lieutenant then, but he was already an ensign.
No, he becomes an ensign. Like, they're graduating him, essentially. Like, he was on-site training. They give him the ensign rank. Because I remember I specifically had a note about this when it happened. They make him an ensign there. He later becomes a lieutenant. Which means that he then becomes the entry level to an officer.
No, ensign is an entry level to an officer.
No, that's what I'm saying. They make him an ensign in the field. He wasn't an ensign before. So they field promote him to the lowest officer rank. Whereas before he was just acting officer. Not much to note from me about the 01 versus 02 battle, other than I think that's the first time we've seen the Gundam's head turn a full 180 degrees. It also does make me wonder where the 01 was the entire war. In its own manga, I'd assume. I mean, it looks pretty badass. I like its color scheme better than anything else. But then again, that's Char's running monologue. What's this thing supposed to be a decoy? Why it's so fucking bright?
Yeah.
Which, has to be a meta narrative to Tamino's own. Didn't want it to look that way. The toy maker set it down. And then Tamino kind of has a whole note about falling in love with it after the fact. Not to be a representation of war, but of hope. And hope is bright, and war isn't.
I guess. Sure.
I mean,
Let's go with that.
You can look it up. It's
I know. I read the article. I know. It's just the thing about a content creator. I'm not a big believer necessarily of death of the author, unless it's literal.
Oh,
like the author's dead.
I'm fully on board with death of the author.
I think that the author has certain limits to it, but at the same time, because it's just one way of looking at things, not the only way.
Well, think about it in a very literal aspect. A work can out-exist its author. An author can literally die, and after the author is dead, they have no way in on what they meant by their work.
I mean, like I said, unless it's literal death of the author, I think that you should take on board what a living author should say, but also know that people change their minds over time. I
think we've had this little discussion before about how deep you want to get into a media when you're breaking it down, where I've said before I'm more of a surface level. I am of the show. And I don't remember what you were saying at the time, but it was very much of the point where you can dissect what the author intended to then try to read deeper into a thing, or you can examine what was going on when the thing was being made and the difficulties in production that may have influenced certain things. It's like, you can do that. But why not just rush to the end and pretend that the author is dead and your opinion is the only opinion of what matters here? Or not your own opinion, the opinion of the audience, say. I didn't mean like you specifically. I meant you as the audience.
I feel it's woefully incomplete. Not because here's my take on it. It's like being in the optometrist and you have different lenses, right? Each one, this one's a little better, this one's a little worse. Yeah, for you, these two lenses are great, but whatever you're not seeing through those lenses, it gets grayed out, and there's always more to know if you're willing to go there. If you don't care, that's fine.
I would say that human sight, and I don't mean, I'm probably just following on your metaphor, human sight is woefully tunnel visioned most of the time. You see what you want to see, and sometimes there's a lot of fat to be cut out on the edge that isn't going to apply to you. Like, there could be deeper metaphor, but a lot of people won't see it. I don't even mean metaphor. There could be a lot of extra added interpretation to be had, but for most people, it's going to be, like if you're building a sandcastle, there's going to be a lot of sand in the middle that represents the castle, and there's going to be a lot of faff off to the side that just crumbles away. And that crumbling away is the stuff that's added context from the author. Like, maybe it's there, but is it necessary? At the end of the day, it shouldn't be. For me, I guess my final here before I move on is that the added context from the author or the intent of the author is just like all the shit that you have to read in a book to understand the movie. It should be present in the media, and if it's not, then it's pointless, because it doesn't survive the author's death. It's interesting to note that contrary to the main timeline, where a deserting Amuro stumbles upon the mine where Caecilia and McQueeve are at, engages them in combat, and causes them to increase the pace of prototype mobile suits and mobile armors, the capture of the Gundam by Char in this timeline, and his follow-up suggestion to mass produce it, is this timeline's equivalent to that. Also makes me think of recent notes we've had for other one-year war shows, like the 8th MS Team, where the conceit was that the Apsalus project started before that mine attack, and would likely still have been under operation in this timeline. I have no idea if Odessa would have happened the same way without Amuro outing Judak and Elrin, in which case the evacuation of the Earth might not have happened. Increasing pressure on Shiro Amada and the 8th instead of letting up on them as the Zeon presence in their area wouldn't be as whittled down.
But we do know that they lost Odessa, so it might have not made much of a difference. But
I don't remember it being brought up.
I think it was.
See, my thing is, without Amuro, Judak and Elrin don't get outed somehow. Yeah. Nobody figures that out, which means that they are actively working against Odessa from the inside of the Federation, which means that might have all played out well. I mean, McQueeve is alive and well, it seems. Like,
yeah.
Although he's in space, so that might be an indication that Odessa didn't... I don't know. McQueeve wanders, it feels like. So, just grabbing my boy's alive, even though apparently I'm the only one that likes him. As per a previous comment that McQueeve is an idiot, or Tamino thought McQueeve was so unimportant that he didn't need to die in the movie. Like, okay. Better than Char. I mean, maybe not in the long term. I don't know what happens to Char in the long-term story. People obviously like him for some reason. When it comes to the one-year war, though, he's just a monster of the week. He keeps showing up and losing. I imagine, as I said during last episode, Garma left the military to be with Iselina Eisenbach, meaning that they got their happy ending, though depriving us of one of the more emotional episodes of the early Mobile Suit Gundam run. I suppose with Char busy with the captured Gundam and pressing on his higher-ups what to do with it, he just couldn't be present to try and subvert Garma to his death. At the same point, without White Base and the Gundam retreating to North America, there would have been little reason for Char to go there in the first place.
Yeah. Because he was in pursuit of the White Base at the time, so...
Trying to read into the scene between Dr. Flanagan and Char It seems like this version of Flanagan is just an engineer, in his own words. Given the backdrop of what looks like spaceships from history, it really does look like he might be an engineer working at a museum, rather than running the Flanagan Institute. I guess maybe implying that the Dr. Flanagan we saw in the OG timeline had gotten their chance to explore the concept of new types by submitting a similar report to the one that he had shown Char here, and then Caecilia explored that idea by assigning him resources to be able to pursue it. Whereas here, we are seeing that first report and him showing it to Char before Caecilia. That's my interpretation of events anyways, only hampered by the fact that the Saikamu was developed, implying some sort of background development around new types that doesn't feel like it would be possible without Caecilia's support to form a new type core.
I mean, and we're talking about the Omega Saikumu system, which implies that there are others. Well, yeah, there were other.
The
Saikumu
one that we're talking
systems.
about from Char's perspective in the past is the Alpha Saikamu. We're talking about the Omega Saikamu, which is present day, whatever this actually might be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think sorry, I feel like this goes back to our discussions during Macross, where it's like they call it the first space war, and then there's never anything else like called the second space war. It's like
Space War 1,
Space War 1, sorry, that's it. And there's no Space War 2 or anything. We don't call anything else by that. So it's like the difference of living in the time, the Great War versus World War 1. It'd be the height of pessimism to be living in the time calling it World War 1, just anticipating a World War 2. Space War 1. Shut up, you son of a bitch. I guess this AU expresses the fact that Amuro and White Base really weren't all that important towards the overall Federation battle plans, as even without them, the Battle of Solomon still happens and Dozozabi is killed, which at least implies that the Federation march towards Munzo occurs with or without them. It's very apparent that Operation Star 1 was on the cusp of occurring, and even Char acknowledges that Zeon's situation is unfavorable. Mass-producing Big Zoms is mentioned alongside the Solar Ray, which also has me thinking, if Operation Star 1 never gets implemented, it's entirely possible that Degwin never got killed by said Solar Ray, in which case it's possible that he's still alive in this AU as well.
Yeah, but we have no indication that he's in charge. The only person that's said to be in charge is Caecilia.
Remember, Caecilia is only referred to as Her Excellency.
Which is what they would say about Degwin, too.
Well, no, remember that they do mention Giran, and they still call him Supreme Commander. They didn't say Supreme Commander Caecilia. They just said Her Excellency. And we know that the Zabis are treated as like a royal family. So that could just be, noble title, less so a command position. No different than saying Lady Caecilia. Her Excellency Caecilia. I don't know, that probably doesn't fit. I think they probably say Her Excellency Lady Caecilia. It's all follow-up. My point being is that he probably wouldn't have gotten killed there because it didn't happen. Not saying he's not dead, it just, all evidence points to he wasn't killed there, could be alive. Then again, Giran could have found another way to kill him, who knows. I think the read would be that Giran found a way to kill him, Caecilia then killed Giran at some point, and the only thing that changes is that Char then didn't kill her.
Yeah.
Because he vanishes, essentially. So, essentially, I guess this turns into what would Caecilia do at the end of the war if she lived?
Mm-hmm.
Char mentions that the Saikamu was going to be installed in a dedicated mobile armor, clearly referencing the Elmeth, that we never see Lala and Char never references her, is one thing. We even see him performing the attacks that she had done when testing the Elmeth. That he also removed her from the front lines by removing her mobile armor as well, possibly saved her life to also be alive in this new future.
Yeah, but it might have been that they never met.
No, that would happen before.
Well.
Yeah. If the I think that's what I was implying by the whole Iron Cavalry thing. If we
Yeah.
are not including Origins in this, or the events of Origins are changed, then sure, maybe. But again, it feels like the implied thing is that Char was present here is the first change. Now, if we just are discounting Origin completely, then we have no idea where Char met Lala, because that's just not written anymore.
Yeah. And in 79, she just is there. We never get any clue how they met.
But again, in my perspective, I assume in yours as well, we count Origin as canon until things get overwritten. But I think the biggest example of a change there is that Amuro invents Haru in the OG, whereas it seems like his dad bought him Haru in Origin, in which case we just forget the fact that there was a boxed Haru, and in our opinion, Amuro invented the Haru. So that is a case of existing continuity overwrites Origin continuity. Two things I was incorrect about. The Salamis launching from Luna 2 was engaged by the Musai, but we never see or hear what comes of it. I must have just imagined it got destroyed, or conflated later imagery we see from that same scope vision as prior events. Because I remember having an argument with you at the end of the episode that Joaquin died when the Salamis got destroyed. And we see other Salamis-class ships in like that long view scope image thing get destroyed at the end of the episode when we're watching, I think, Char attack Solomon. So I think I may have, at the end of the episode, conflated those two imageries together. Also, I think I said that they didn't capture Luna 2 when we clearly see my guy McQueeve being sent in an all-out attack to do just that. Not for nothing, but we also see his fleet is comprised of a number of big Zoms, implying that their mass production had been successful after the fall of Solomon.
I mean, they have technically they have the resources. It's the only problem there would have been manpower. And,
time. I thought time would have been the thing. Well, I guess manpower, because big Zoms have like a whole bridge crew on the inside.
Yeah.
Well, just the element that we never saw more big Zoms, at least at their current point of watching at the end of the war, because like they had to put that one together at Solomon. But when the camera pans back from behind McQueeve and Urgang, again, not credited, very clearly Urgang though, standing next to McQueeve, looking out the window, there's like a ship off to the side or whatever, and then there's like 3 big Zoms flying forwards. So it's like, oh, I recognize that layout. I'm not exactly sure what the point of dropping Solomon on Granada would be, but I suppose from a meta perspective, it does serve as some small irony. At the end of the war in the OG timeline, Granada was still under Zeon control, so it almost feels like a cross-timeline strike. Also, right about now would be when we would have seen Cadillac's brother in those Zeon bricks, giving his life fighting Zeon forces around the moon in the lead-up to Operation Star 1. So our boys on the Jotunheim would have been getting front-row seats to something completely different this time.
Although, Granada kind of doesn't make sense. You could just go after, what's his name?
Munzo?
Munzo. I mean, it's a big asteroid. Yes, I know the colonies are pretty massive, but
it can't be anywhere close to the size of a colony.
Yeah.
Because literally one massive explosion pushed it off course versus like a week of the entire Federation fleet firing at Island Iffish didn't push it off. Well, didn't significantly push it. Well, sorry, I'm just thinking now the Earth's gravity well had to have a major component in not pushing it off course, in that it would always be moving forwards because it's being pulled rather than... Well, technically the moon has some gravity. I don't know. I just don't think they're comparable in size. Gravity, I just don't think they're comparable in size.
But you don't. Okay, yeah, true. But the only thing you do is you need to, if you just want to go for maximum destruction, the only thing you got to do is crack the outside of Munzo, and
I'm saying you'd see this thing coming from such a long ways, and it seems like Zeon has space control. So not for nothing, but a whole lot of big Zoms as well. and the solar ray is prepared to fire.
And yet it took the Seek Nova to stop it. So,
Well, it's because they had nothing near Granada, I think is what they said. But
well,
Char and his skeleton crew were the only thing in the
yeah,
area. Versus what you have to think is the rest of the Zeon military is back at Munzo. So, yeah, you'd have, like you said, the fact that even the solar ray isn't mentioned would mean that seeing Solomon coming up would be like, well, what do we aim at? At the fleet or Solomon? Well, I think we can win the fight against people. That's a giant rock. People make movies about this situation. Whatever a Zek Nova is, it disappeared, a third of Solomon with it. As always, I harken back to to one of our final conversations with Lala, at least to the point we've seen in our UC watch through, where Amuro supposes that someday people will be able to control time itself, and Lala exclaims that she can see time. Maybe Char somehow found himself able to control time for a moment, that's what the Zek Nova was. That a third of Solomon just got transported through time alongside Char. Yep, you are a spoiler engine. Ironic, because spoilers are the back half of a car. Not the back half of a car, are the back end of the exhaust system. I should have said that was my last note, because my last line here is January 3rd, 0080, Earth Federation proposes a truce with Zeon. It's just a note for me amongst, because these are the notes that I'm not deleting, so I just want to make sure I know that fact in case it ever comes up for some reason. All right, those are our notes. Of course, we have some comments. Edge from the Patreon, the episode The White Gundam. Amuro's voice actor retired, so chance of Amuro appearing isn't too high. I mean, they could recast him. But I'm hoping they don't pull a Seed Destiny and swap the main character halfway during the season. LOL.
Yeah. That would be dumb.
I mean, I'm winking here. He's not winking. I'm winking, because I'm pretty sure Amuro's voice actor cheated on his wife, or did he? Or was that one of the assault charges? I can't remember. There's so many voice actors.
Something happened that it was embarrassing enough for them to get booted out of the Gundam.
I remember back when we were watching the we were doing the reaction to Mob Psycho, and I can't remember his name. The mentor to Mob, who is giving all these moral, ironic because he's a shyster, giving all these moral lessons and everything, and it turns out that he's been cheating on his wife for 10 years, the voice actor. It's like, huh. Yeah. Let's see, we got David Butt from Patreon, also from the episode The White Gundam. The events of this episode were originally just supposed to be a short prologue, but Hideaki Anno, who specifically wrote it, gave them enough material for 30 to 35 minutes, so that's why we got a full episode of this. They cut a good 10 to 15 minutes from the events that we saw in the movie, as we actually get to see what Chalia Bull narrates at the end of the episode. I will say there's more to David Butt's comment, which actually goes over what those changes and what they are, but obviously they actually said this. I don't have it here in my clip, but they say don't read this out loud, as it may actually happen in future episodes if you don't know what they're going to re-include and not include. But if you want, go to that post on the Patreon to see what they're talking about. Not you, obviously. That would be spoilers for you, for the same reason that I'm not reading it and did not read past the point where they say, don't read this. All right, we had Crystal Wolf from the episode The Red Gundam. On the redesign of Chalia Bull, even in the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, his original design looked way too old for his actual age, and UC 0079 is 28 years old. Even with a few years between those events, he looked to be in his 50s with the original character design. Amuro is clearly alive and well, since he is the maker of Haru, the ball robot, which he mass-marketed and sold. I guess that's a spoiler. In the original timeline, and is most likely the same here. So I say that's probably a spoiler, because he hasn't done that as far as we've watched yet.
So he's a rich kid.
I don't remember what I said. I did respond to this comment, because this is on YouTube side.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, ironically, now that I'm harping on the fact that he mass marketed and sold, I think my comment was along the lines of maybe he just sold the design for Haru. It doesn't mean he's alive. It just means that Haru survived. Also, I guess it implies, what's it called? Divergent. I can't think of what I'm trying to think here. Where two people around the same time invent the same thing. You know, you often get into arguments about who invented what first, because the person who patents the thing, in fact, patented the thing maybe like a month after somebody across the globe actually invented the thing first. But the two people have no contact with one another. It's just happenstance that they both things got invented at the same time. You know, it's not like it's not like
industrial espionage.
Well, sort of. I was trying to think of what's his name, Wizard of Menlo, New Jersey. Come on, help me out here.
You're talking about
Sorry, for some reason, all I think is
Tesla.
Alexander
You're talking
Graham.
about Tesla, and
No,
you're talking
not Tesla.
Not Marconi either.
Yeah, I can't think of his name. All I'm thinking is Alexander Graham Bell. That's wrong. It's like, what's your name?
Oh.
The businessman who had like a whole factory of people working on patents for him that he took credit for all the fucking patents.
I can even see his photograph in my brain, but I cannot get his name right.
Oh, is that... Sorry, you're saying Tesla because I said Wizard of Menlo, and... No, that's not Tesla's nickname. Wizard of Menlo is Menlo Park, which is in New Jersey. Yeah. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
No,
I know who you're talking about.
Thomas Edison. No, is it Thomas
Edison? It is Thomas Edison. Yeah. It is Thomas Edison.
So I was trying to think. He has the electric company named after him, which is Edison something. I can't remember. It's like Thomas Edison?
Power. Edison Power, yeah.
Well, I don't think it's Edison Power. I think it's something else. But, who just stole a bunch of patents. I'm so far from the mark now. What I was trying to say is not somebody who just stole a bunch of shit, which you were going with your industrial espionage thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think that just because there's a Haru in the show implies that Amuro is alive. For all we know, the green Haru that we know just had its colors faded, and this is the same one. Because maybe he's doing that because he's like in his teen years now, and he's I'm gonna say hoodie because you said hoodie before, and when we beanie, that's right, yeah.
Beanie,
well, I remember that we were like, it's not a hoodie, and then like 10 minutes later during the episode, you typed out in the chat, it's a beanie, by the way. It's like, okay. All right, last comment here. Heaven72, also from the Red Gundam. It may be possible for her to catch the drive after throwing it. Since they're on the roof of what like a pretty tall building, the gravity, or rather the centrifugal force, would be weaker because it's closer to the center of the colony, thus making the drive float longer.
I guess so.
I literally said, fair point. But I would also, now thinking about it with my argumentative brain, is thinking, well, she would also be in effect to that same lower gravity, which means that she would also be moving slower.
Well, no. You throw the drive, unless she threw it in full force.
She does. She throws it, and it goes arcing well into the air, and then she dashes forwards and then catches it, which seems to me to be an impossibility. But then again, I guess there's an element here. How tall up are they? That the arc that she throws it could arc through lower centrifugal force, and she would be present to a higher centrifugal force. I want to keep on using the word gravity. That she could be pressed down to the top of the roof with a harder force than the thing flying up into the center spin, where gravity would be less centrifugal force would be. I guess it's possible, right? At the same point, you'd be at the same level of, well, if I had a potato cannon or a t-shirt gun or whatever your example of choice would be, and I fired it straight up, at some point would the object pass through an area where there's no force to be exerted and then be pulled up into, or from your perspective, up to the other side of the colony?
Yeah, that would probably happen. Less gravity, and then eventually, if it continues in momentum, it will continue momentum with less resistance, air resistance.
It would be the reverse example to that hypothetical of what would happen if you dug a tunnel all the way through the center of the Earth and out the other side, where the force is pulling you towards the center, but you still probably maintain enough directional force to be passed through the other end. Except reverse that, and all the force is on the outside, and in the middle is nothing. So you are pulled towards the outer edge, slow down, reach the middle, drift in a zero gravity environment to the other side, and then be pulled down to the other end.
I think with something like a t-shirt cannon, we also have to, because of the substance, wind would also be a situation. Because while, yes, there's less gravity in the middle, you still have air circulating.
Well, I'm using t-shirt cannon and potato cannon as an example of a lower momentum firing device. Like, I don't want to say gun.
I think it's
what
would happen.
Well, I'm just saying if you said gun and the bullet would be traveling at such high velocity, I want a lower velocity, more equatable to somebody with like a baseball pitcher throwing arm.
Yeah, it would go up, and then because it doesn't have as much gravity, that wouldn't be resistant, but then it would be caught by, because air is also spinning as well, the currents of the air would spin around, so it would land somewhere else. It wouldn't actually go directly up, because it's actually, it would be like putting a t-shirt in a tumble dryer, right? The air, the ironically, I would say that the air pressure, the winds in the center of the colony are probably much stronger than at glow level, because there's less gravity to actually influence the air. So actually, the t-shirt will go like this, and then fly somewhere else.
Wish that we had the audience, that somebody was going to come back with a whole post about the physics of, well, wind resistance, air direction, the artificial environment of the colony itself, plus, because, there has to be an artificial environment system so that the spin that creates the gravity, the fake gravity, doesn't itself create hurricane winds all the time. There has to be some sort of force mitigating this factor as well. I always think about Rama, Rendezvous with Rama, about when it's passing by the sun and then all the environmental effects start happening. So, like tsunamis and everything as the ice melts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So how much artificial weather control must be operational on these sides, especially when they are, well, I don't know, this one seemed to be artificially dimming it and lighting itself for day-night effect, versus the other colonies that we've seen, like in the OG, which had open panels that would then rotate themselves. So, well, I guess they're already rotating themselves, so I guess they're rotating at such a speed to produce 1G, or near 1G, and also at a speed to simulate day-night in a day-night cycle.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that wouldn't be a product of speed, that would be a product of build. If we're going to rotate this fast at this type, then we probably want the panels to be this big to simulate a day's worth of day.
Yeah, there's also the fact of where the sunlight falls. There's multiple panels have to, unless you have reflectors within the colony, so that it's daytime everywhere at the same time. Otherwise, there will be shadow in the areas where.
Well, obviously, I mean, I get what you're saying, but obviously, you're not building on top of the panels, so it's always going to be, sky is here. So,
no, because if you're the panels are on the outside, and so there will be a place where the light comes from the ground, essentially.
I think we're talking about two different things.
Be in shadow,
You're talking about the panels that rotate around the outside of the thing. I was talking about the holes.
No, that's what I'm talking about, the holes. Because if you're in the surface and the holes, let's say you have a strip of land here, a hole here and a hole there, right? Because they're in the same, right?
Oh, I think you're talking about the strip that goes between the holes. I'm talking about below the poles.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when it's rotating, the sun is also going to be different angle perspective, so it is going to be passed by everything that happens there. The way a sundial works. You're at no point going to be always in the shade. But again, that could also be an element of what the rotating panels on the outside are. They're not just
if you look at the sundial,
energy generation, they could be reflectors.
Whatever's directly in the path of the, there's a cone, small cone, which is the dial, right? Which is in shadow.
Yeah, but no,
everything else is in light.
No, there's times during the day where the dial itself isn't even shadow. There's times during the day where there's no shadow on a sundial.
I mean, yeah.
That would be the time of day when the light is directly overhead. There is no light. There's no shadow on the sundial.
But they would be panels either side of those things, so the light essentially would seem to be.
As I was just saying, that the rotating things on the outside might be part energy generation, but they also might just be reflective.
Yeah, that probably is it.
At the end of the day, at the end of the day, I think the end all of this is that we are not mega engineers. So we can conceptualize this, but at best, type it into DeepSeek and see what it says.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all of our comments. Those were the notes. We've done the board. I guess there's nothing left to do but to go ahead and hop on in and see what Machu and Clan Battle is.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Not censored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
That's what I was talking about, the ticket gate thing.
Yeah.
But again, there's then the happily ever after thing was my implication there that this is going to end well. Which would be kind of weird for Gundam, but maybe not so much for I forgot the name of the studio. Ano's his studio name now.
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping you would know, but I guess not.
No.
Also weird that they broadcast the clan battle. That's the third character who's in the opening. That is not yet shown to us. It's weird that they broadcast the clan battles on big old widescreen when it's highly illegal. Also,
Well, actually, that one looked like the Red Gundam with the bits, so I don't think it was.
no, it was clan
a
battle.
clan battle.
No, it was. It says on the top scrolling bars the important clan battle. It's like it's scrolling advertising against a clan battle. And I would ask you, it's probably not in the refugee area because why would the refugees be building these giant widescreen TVs to view everything with? But yeah, like I said, this is our third episode, so it's really hard for me to make inferences about the lyrics and what they might be indicating to. Also, from the element that they might just be like being poetic about the relationship of the characters. You see, the six of them together, we got our new type, and then right in front of them is that other character who was watching the
It's
battle.
Tyler Bull, too, in a suit.
Yeah, well, he's in a suit right now.
No, he's in a uniform.
No, that's the thing he's wearing on the bridge.
No, he's wearing.
We can cover this later. It's not worth a argument.
ルームの難民がジオンの士官様とは随分出世したじゃないか。
Huh.
エグザベ少尉は現行犯逮捕。
So our new type is a
地位
loom
協定は
refugee?
適用されません。
身柄の要求はできないと。
This guy I haven't got a name for yet. The guy Dab getting.
のモビルスーツを撃破した後はサイコミのシグナルもロストしています。誰かが持ち去ったってことですよね。
誰かって誰よ。
いや、これって本国の総帥府にも報告しますか？
Supreme Commander? Are you gonna say Caecilia or are you gonna say Giran?
困ります。なんとか GQuuuuuX だけでも回収してください。サイド6の当局に
I'm assuming the fact that they said special division and means Caecilia.
君の心配もしてあげなよ。
しかし最優先事項
もうバレてますよね。
回収です。ですが、
今日の天気は
予定表では晴れです。
いいですね。行きましょう。
どこへ？ただいま。
Well, I mean, clearly not leaving Side 6 if you were asking what the weather is at Side 6.
Oh, this was a mom, huh?
RBC Prime
やっ
News?
ぱり塾遠いの嫌？
でもお金もったい
Also,
ないかなって。
I hate this.
なんで？
Don't leave your milk out. Put it back in the fridge.
バイトしてる子もいるよ。
でもね、今は勉強でしょ。私帰っていいですか？
見てみろ。歯がある。
何かギミックがありそうなんすけど、多分ジオンの新型。
Got teeth.
なってない最新鋭機っすよ。
It's an EVA unit.
GQ? なんて読むんだ？
GQuuuuuX かな。
Well, I'm glad that they're having a problem too.
Yeah.
本当の名前は別にあるんだと思うけど。
Okay, so now we have her name, GQuuuuuX.
Yeah.
自爆プログラムに触るかも。
アンキー、こんな監禁もできないもの持ってたってリスクが増えるだけだ。早く処分した方がいい。
そんなことよりよ、明日のクランバトルどうすんだよ。今さらキャンセルしたら違約金で人生つ。
Yeah, it's in the name of the episode.
問 ります。初めてなのによく動かせたね。なんかわかんないけど、思った通りに動いてくれた。
ジェジーにも動かせないんだぞ。なんでお前が。
Do you think she exists in the main timeline? I mean, not obviously as an actual character, but
あんたさ、
conceptually.
バトルやらない？
I mean, if she was inside 6, then yeah.
I mean, she could be a result of refugees having kids, in which case
Yeah.
the circumstances might not have come together for her to have been born.
代わりにこいつがある。ナブが借りるザクをジェジーに回してマブを組めば
賞金も山分けだよ。
ちょっと待って。
当たり前だ。門限気にするようなガキには無理だ。クラバは命がけなんだよ。
素人を巻き込むな。本当に死ぬぞ。もう帰れ。
I feel like she's got Marty McFly syndrome.
Yeah.
Don't call me
Pretty much.
chicken.
と来るよ。
あのおばさんバックれたら通報するかも。もしバレたら。
She's got a criminal record already?
またあのキラキラ。
Probably.
Also, I don't think a criminal would report you. That's just...
I mean, somebody can always drop a dime.
Well, I would say it follows those stupid things like, yeah, I was buying crack from that guy and he stole it from me. It's like, what? Are you sure you want to report this?
You can just accuse them of something else. But yeah, they always run the risk of them telling on you.
なんだと？こいつ一人のためにそこまでするのか。
Again, this started a war before, and
Yeah.
you guys are on the side that should really respect this.
一夜明けたイズマコロニーでは占領時代に逆戻りだという怒りの声が上がっています。
今もコロニー内はジオンの管制空域です。しかしミラウスキー粒子は散布されていません。これはまだ戦闘状態ではない。
Oh, yeah. They'd be disrupting a lot of shit here. Also, those birds are upside down to the gravity that they're flying in.
They do like the music. You can't hear it, but I love it.
Eh. I did hear it when I was rewatching it, obviously, but it's meh to me. Okay, somebody beat her up. Already not loving the implications of that.
That she's not a kid?
No, that she's getting abused.
What do you mean it's not abuse?
She pulled her eye down. She put her glasses down. She had this big old bruise over just one eye. That's why I said she was...
ああどうしよう。あの赤い
I didn't see it because it was so dark.
Oh, I turned my screen brightness up when we record.
ガンダム。赤い水
Oh, great. It zoomed over that so much that I know I'm going to be pausing like every 5 seconds to make a
That's
profile.
Char, with an R, not Cha.
あ、待て。進路希望の紙書いた？お？どうした？
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Hajime no Ippo, want to be a boxer.
Yeah.
相対する。お、待て。カバン忘れてるよ。
間違いない。昨日見たあの落書き。あれは
Yeah, they specifically called out the graffiti, and I have no freaking idea how to read it. What does it mean? Oh, here's our third thing.
君も向こう側見えた。
向こう側。
僕は修二。
Okay, so we're
Okay.
calling the La La LSD space the other side.
マチュって何よ。とっさに
I guess that explains what the graffiti is then. The graffiti is that weird color trip.
Yeah.
That explains why Chalia was also inquiring about it. Oh, was it Chalia or was it the other girl? The other girl on the Xeon Bridge.
間違いない。これって昨日のキラキラ。ってことは。
What does Kira Kira means though?
They call me Banksy.
こんにちは、お急ぎですか？え？
Oh yes, you have the dark eye. Yeah.
別に急いでいませんよ。
え？なんで？あんたが5000入っても払えるの？割り込まないで、こっちが先に話してんの。
Oh, there goes the money.
お金もうない。
It's also not particularly expensive, though.
どうしよう。全財産なのに。
I think that's like $50, technically.
I mean, if it's
Remember, I gave you what the trip that she was making cost on the subway at the ticket counter. It was like, I think it was a couple of hundred to go from that one place to the other. So I'm saying that's like a couple of bucks. Try to put it in context of value.
でも昨日デバイス壊れたし。
君だって困るんでしょ？
So in this context, Kira Kira is the clan battle fighter. How else would she know about the prize money and he has a key for the thing? He's not involved in any of this, so Kira Kira must be that aspect at play. That what he's spray painting is a symbol of his mobile suit clan battle persona. Creepy. He's a creepy guy.
Kira Kira, I think, means the other side, the light show thing that they see. I think that's what she means by Kira Kira, not by clan battle.
Again, she just brought up the idea of clan battle as a way of repaying for the thing that the money she just put in the
but when she first saw it, she's like, oh, it's Kira Kira.
And he says, but my key is broken. I feel like Kira Kira, she knows from clan battle. The graffiti represents the other side. The Kira Kira symbology thing that he's posting on top of it, I feel like has to be clan battle represented. Dude, it looks like you threw up in here.
Yeah.
So he's the pilot of the Red Gundam, which then represents why she saw him in her vision thing. Still confusing to me. See, the Gundam's talking to him. What I was gonna say, still confusing to me, is why she saw the Gundam and not him. She should have seen him. Cameron.
Oh, look who it is. Cameron.
We need welcome. Tem? Is that Tem, right? Nope, sorry. Called it wrong. I saw him in the darkness and I just expected Temray to be alive. He's missing. How could I? Banchai 17, sorry. Banchai, not side. Got that confused for a second. I mean, they're selling Zaku's. So they're getting our boy back.
Drugstore. Well, that's a nice building, I guess. See, the police have that octagon design, which is not the same as Eon's.
I don't remember us ever saying that they had the same logo as Eon.
No, they say, no, they're Sion. As I told you, no, they have a different logo. It's like, no, they're Sion. It's like, no, they're not. They're the military police.
I've never said that they weren't. I've pointed out the military police every time except for the one time, which was the Zaku coming out of the garage.
He's the only one that can pilot it.
Well, she's the only one who can activate the psychometer anyway. The other guy who pilots Zaku could pilot it. What does that mean? What does Mav mean?
そいつが現れなかったらジェジーが出る。それでいいね。見バレしたらおしまいだ。顔も隠しな。
Or, I don't know, conversely, don't broadcast the inside of the cockpit.
No, but I'm sure they don't stay in the cockpit all the time.
It's an illegal operation. Don't get out of the cockpit in the middle of being recorded.
それだけ。他は何でもありってことか。
Yeah, they can get killed.
See, I like it a lot better when it's not wearing a beanie.
直前にミノスキー粒子が散布される。だが実況配信が始まればすぐに軍警が駆けつけてくるぞ。
それまでにケリをつけろ。制限時間は約5分。コロニー校舎の管理ログに残らない5秒間だけ。
Really, it's the Gundam equivalent of Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. Done. Yeah, Zero. Because I don't think they're Japanese for Zero.
Seeing the fact they're out there flying just outside the colony, I think reinforces my statement that the first two mobile suits we saw in front of the green-white base was a clan battle.
gquuuuuux.
Since about the time that I got the phone call. See, they broadcast it. At this point, you might as well make it legal and make money off of it.
I think because they use weapons, that's why. Yeah. That's why it's...
Or Snake Eyes.
That's why it's illegal, yeah.
It doesn't matter. Legalize it, and then tax it, and then...
Yeah, but the reason why it's not legalized is because Zeon doesn't want these guys to have weapons in
neutral
their...
territory, doesn't matter. It would. I mean, especially if it's the original. We would have a learning computer.
Even
I feel like you're making a video game out of this. You're just preparing us for the video game to come.
Yeah.
Two Zaku's versus the Gundam. I'm assuming a Zaku. No, the red Gundam. Sorry, yeah, I forgot. For some reason, I kept thinking back to Nabu and his Zaku. Also, the semi-cheat of two new types versus anybody else.
We don't. They don't know who's two new types.
I very much doubt the other guys are with Saikamu in their suits.
ミノフスキー粒子下の戦闘は基本有志界で発生します。それなら先に見つけた側が圧倒的に有利になる。しかしそれは最初の一撃だけ。攻撃するには姿を晒さざるを得ません。初段がかわされてしまえば、
you know, unless your Gundam is stupidly all white and, you know.
この時失うアドバンテージをお互いに補完し合う。これがモビルスーツ2機1組の MA。
Well, there we go. We've defined MAV.
突撃機動軍の教本にあります。
3 episodes in or 2 episodes in, depending on how you count these. Did you think you were fighting 2 versus 1?
Yeah.
How are you surprised? Unless it's like Warhammer Army rules where they just thought, wow, we have 500 points. See, if you had legalized it, you could like give it an arena where people aren't going to be like in the crossfire.
こりゃダメだ。完全に狙われてんじゃねえか。素人だってバレてんだよ。
それにしても、
ここまでのすべての攻撃を回避しています。扱いの難しい gquuuuuux がよく動く。
Yeah, as per the thing they said to Char in last episode, how you're able to avoid faster than light fire.
このパイロット、何者ですか?
There's no chance in hell Chalia thinks it's Char.
違う。先行弾だ。
And that's when a race went extinct across the universe.
何も見えない
Killed by a flying axe a million years from now.
なんでこんなことになってるんだっけ私死ぬ キラキラ
The needless bit about being naked in the other side.
Yeah.
海を泳ぐ魚みたいに。
囚人どこ
近くにいるよ。
I'll say, see, saw him here, but I very much feel like they're implying that the Gundams are thinking, or new types.
目が時もなくしたどうしようどうすればいい
これ罠だよ。マブが待ち構えてるぞ。挟まれちゃった。逃げろ。
They're gonna make them crash into each other.
お前が
Ah, we saved that alien race a million years from now.
ヒートホーク。どっから飛んできた。まさか軌道を
So did he call that a heat hawk?
どこまで見えてるんだ。
Just hit him with the Zaku. Or the stupidest weapon from OG Gundam.
There you go.
Amongst things that I thought were going to make a return, I did not expect the flail.
勝ったのか。
みたいね
マジで。
Although I guess to be fair, this is essentially like a
これが
literally an arena fight, so
Yeah.
best place for it, I guess.
おいバカ、早くずらかれ。もう軍警が来るぞ。逃げた方がいいとガンダムが言っている。
Or do you think Char merged with the Gundam?
I mean, I don't think it is supposed to have disappeared, so I don't think that.
Well,
why
I mean,
didn't it retreat?
it's the unreliable narrator trope, right? Is this kid
Yeah.
unreliable, or is the fucking Gundam talking? And again, the element that I keep bringing up is that in new type other side space,
Yeah.
she sees the Gundam.
Mhm.
And
But he also saw him this time around.
yeah, but she saw the Gundam last time, which
Yeah.
implies that the Gundam itself could be a new type. And if Char merged with it, that could be a reason.
Mm.
I mean, which do you prefer? My theory is that Char merged with a Gundam, or that Char traveled through time. If you had to pick one,
neither.
gun to your head, you've got to pick one.
I think it would be more that the Gundam learned from Char.
I don't can't be that, because otherwise the
Learning
Gundam would.
computer.
Yeah, but the learning computer doesn't to become a new type. It appears
No, it doesn't
at
have
new
to be
type
a new
space.
type.
It does to appear
It's
at new
just-
type space.
It's just a projection of him. He's projecting the Gundam. That's what it is. That's it.
Yeah, that's the merged. So you choose the merged with Char option then.
Not really.
It can't be a projection of him if it only learned from him. You don't
Not of
project
him,
yourself
of
as
Shinji.
oh, hold
of
on,
Shinji is a
Shinji. Yeah, now you're talking
Yeah,
about Evangelion.
yeah.
Oh, Evangelion, it's Shinji. Yeah, it is. Hold on.
ユニコムって何のこと？ラテン語で唯一のって意味。
ユニーク。
ギルを奪した連邦軍の
あじゃあユニーク
水曜のことなんだって。次回魔女の戦争。嘘でしょ？モビルスーツに必殺
The
技
Witch War. Interesting.
Yeah. Also, I appreciate they've done the thing that I said all throughout Mobile Suit Gundam is that we should have a thing better than Ace, and it's a Federation pilot killed more than 100 people. They've become Unicum. To be fair, I was actually reading that originally as a unicorn, and it's like, oh shit, I don't know anything about a Gundam unicorn, so I can't. Spoilers. Thankfully, it went somewhere stupider. Unicum.
Yeah.
What should we call? What's a good? Well, to be fair, this probably comes from the Zeon. Zeon won the war. Zeon won the war, so they could say, "What do we call a Federation pilot that killed 100 of us?" Something fucking stupid. Something to make him feel shame every time we call him that. Unicum. That'll teach him.
You talk about pronunciation, and we talk about the sound that in the intermission and in the 079, right? Could that have been literally they were saying char, like char, but without the R?
I don't think so. Oh, I mean, they do. I think it's spelled CH.
Hey.
Well, no, I mean, I've seen it typed out in the like translations and everything like that.
Yeah.
But that's just whatever. I don't know. I don't think it matters. I don't think it means anything.
No.
I don't think it's literally like a bunch of fangirls about Char. Like, oh, Char! Like, I don't think that's what's supposed to be going. I think it's just a nondescript, like, cheering noise or whatever. Well, I have no idea, to be honest. I'm just trying to figure it out based on what you're throwing out here. I don't think it's meant to imply Char, because also, why would it be saying Char and showing us the Gundam?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense here, because they're not even showing us the Gundam, it's just the title card. Mm-hmm. But back in the OG Gundam, why would they show us Amuro in the Gundam and be screaming out Char? Unless that's Char. I mean, that's Amuro with a weird voice. Ah, it's Char! So, I don't know.
Interesting.
Going back to what we were talking about before, I do think it's more likely that it's Char Char fused with the Gundam is probably more likely. Well, why would that have destroyed a third of Solomon, though?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing is that I'm not like 100% on the theory myself. It's just amongst things that could have happened. Again, Lala's comments back in OG Gundam about seeing time and Amuro's comments about being able to travel through time do serve to possibly explain what happened there. On the other hand, they can see the Gundam in Other Side, the weird LSD trip space that Lala occupies in OG Gundam. And in OG Gundam, we could only see other new types in that space, not the things that they're piloting. So the Gundam showing up there, and then also in this episode separately, Shinji, which again, funny callback to the pilot of the Evangelion, Eva 1. Obviously, probably not a callback. It'd be so on the nose that it would seem
it's a very common name. Yeah.
Well, it would seem beyond Anno to just like, let's just name him Shinji. Nobody will see anything in that. Like, I feel like he's beyond that level of, well, we've got to include Evangelion references somehow. Like, I assume stuff in the background would be in Evangelion evidence, not a main character's name. But yeah, that element, I feel like it's important. Like, even if this is 12 episodes, unless they say something at some point, I'm going to be carrying that torch for 12 episodes. And also the element that the White Gundam also appeared, I think, in that vision. Not that vision, the other side. Makes me also think that that's at play here too. But I'm uncertain onto the White Gundam aspect. Because that only seems to appear as an aspect of an extension of her own being.
Yeah. It's her Gundam with the Psycho Mumu. So
well, I mean, it only appears as an extension when we're showing the extension then of Shinji to Red Gundam, her and the White Gundam. But our point of view is her, so the extension of the White Gundam from her doesn't feel as much as a thing of the Red Gundam itself appearing and not knowing its pilot. That's different from then when we know who the pilot is and see him, because the contact that we make, new type to new type, is person to person. If you even recall back in the last episode, Char is like, there'll be a point where we can't know each other, right? The concept that new types connect at such a fundamental level that we won't know, it's impossible for us not to know each other. So the idea that you could feel somebody in the Gundam and only see the Gundam doesn't feel like the new type thing to do. So if you're feeling the Gundam must be the thing you're contacting.
I think it's just because she didn't know who he was. Once he had a face and a place to him, she could contact him. I know what we've seen before, but in this case,
well, that's the thing. I'm just got through the entire thing is that new types connect at such a different level that doesn't matter if she didn't know who he was; she would see him the same way. The problem here is that my example would then go to Amuro and Lala, but you're saying that she didn't have a face. But at the same time, when Amuro is seeing Lala, he's seeing her as she is in the cockpit, not as he knew her before.
But she's always wearing the same thing, basically, underneath the spacesuit.
That's why it makes it's a difficult example to bring out.
Because he saw Char and he saw Lala before he saw them.
There's no examples. There's no examples we can give of the opposite happening.
But there you have it.
Well, it's a space that all we have is a room to theorize in. Although, I guess, granted, you came with 3 notes and I came with 16, how much we are both theorizing about stuff. I'm looking at what happened in the past and thinking, oh, maybe this implies this, maybe this implies that. Whereas you're looking at the facts and what might actually, or what is based on.
The one thing that I will say is fact that does seem to connect with the other one is that when they do go into the Kira, the which he calls this other space, we do hear Lala's words as well as her song, because that was describing OG Gundam. People were like, La? What? Because people could hear it when she was using the power.
I didn't hear it. Even when I was watching it off recording, I wasn't hearing it.
Yeah. No, people were like, what the hell is that? And in fact, then Amuro goes like, Lala?
Oh, you're talking about, an OG Gundam. Sorry, I thought you meant here.
Yeah. Here you can hear it. You can hear it well here. It's muted. It's muted, but it's not. You hear it, it's like, what the? And I'm like, Is Theta right? Is Lala in this universe as well, projecting himself to the...
Well, this could also be what I said in my notes before, that Lala could just still be alive. Because, I mean, if Lala's still alive, she's still going to be a new type regardless. Like, we don't know what happens to her at Flanagan Institute, but...
yeah.
I still don't agree with you at the moment. Obviously, rewatch might change that Kira means other side. I think there's an element, and granted, I did kind of just, like, wash over it a little bit, that I didn't, might not have picked up everything that was being said during the moment, but it very much seems to me that she recognized that he was a pilot based on the Kira thing, not the other side thing. Also, the fact that they say other side and Kira seems to imply to me that they're not using them interchangeably, that they're referring to the other side, saying the words other side, and that Kira is a different thing. That, like, Kira could be his pilot name. That's how she recognizes him as a pilot. The same way that she's being called Machu, and that's not her real name. Because you can't be identified by your real name. It's a fucking illegal tournament.
That's it.
This isn't my normal sit here, stare at you until you do a thing. This is... I'm invested, and I want to make sure before we stop recording that I'm not covering something that...
No, I think we covered basically everything, because this episode was basically around the framework was, one girl is not sure what she wants for the future, and the other one is, I need money because I need to survive.
She's also being abused.
Yeah. We don't know by whom, though.
Well, it seems implied by the episode that it might be the guy who hired her, but I don't know. She shows up to him already with, I guess, implying the fact that we saw. I guess we can only call her Machu at the moment. Machu's home life, and then after that, we saw her with the bruise, implying that she's doing this to bring money back home for a home life that's not so great.
Yeah.
That's what I said. When I saw it, the implications of this is not very good, and to the point where I am apprehensive at best to see where this pans out. Although, as I've already said from the opening lyrics, like the very first line, it's gonna turn out okay. Also, they apparently move in with one another, which I don't know how that bodes for Machu's mother just to get abandoned.
It could be that she's not even her mother. It could be like an older sister. I
don't know. That conversation didn't feel like older sister talk. That felt like parent to child talk.
I don't know. The sister has to parent. Yeah.
Well, again, the idea that they might be refugees, and I also occurred to me when I was saying she might not exist in the OG timeline. And again, not as a course of this was made for last, so obviously she doesn't. I mean, as a background character, conceptually having existed in that timeline, that we have no idea how far after the 1 year war this is. So if this is like 1 year after the 1 year war, then her birth would have happened so long ago as to not be changed by the events of the 1 year war. If this is like 30 years after the 1 year war, then yeah, her birth could have been affected by the events of the 1 year war.
Yeah, but I think she doesn't use the term Oji-san. I have to go back and listen to that conversation carefully and see it, because they talk to each other in a familial well, in a filial and familial well, but they never use any honorifics or mention names or anything like that. That's one thing about this. Very few people actually say their names, except for people in Xeon or officials. But the common folk, and they don't actually use names.
The people who use their names are the people that we need to be reminded of from other shows. If Denim, everyone who knows the first episode of, or I guess Slender, because Slender survived for 2 episodes. Anyone who knows the first 2 episodes of OG Gundam, hey Slender, did you get that thing that I sent you, Slender? Slender, over here. Hey Slender, your name is Slender. Gotta be reminded so that everyone in the back seats who's a fan of Gundam knows who we're talking about.
No, but yeah, you still have these characters should have names, right? I mean,
yeah, but in a realistic speech, I don't call you Lessons all the time. I say Lessons when I need to emphasize that this is something only Lessons would do. Lessons, listen to me. That sort of thing. You don't say, I don't think I've ever heard you say Theta.
I just did.
Did you? When did you say?
A minute ago.
See, it's the thing. It's a name, right? It's supposed to be what I respond to. I don't recognize. Well, there's also only 2 of us. Who the fuck else could you be talking to? But my point is that I don't use your name a lot. I don't even recognize it when you use my name. But I don't say your name like 30 times a recording, right? It's not a thing that gets brought up a lot. If we were to like record us as a show, that's weird. We do record us we don't say our names a lot. If we didn't do it at the beginning of an episode, hey, I'm Theta, this is Lessons, I would say you probably wouldn't know who we are if it wasn't for the overlay.
But remember, and this could be a convention, and only the anime I watch, but a lot of the anime I watch, instead of saying you, as in personal pronoun, second person pronoun, or the equivalent in Japanese, which I'm sure exists, they tend to use the name. So they don't say Machu, instead of saying you said this, right? Here, outside of the very important people, the Xeon characters who use names and talk about the pilot and all that, but between like mother or sister, or between sisters and mother and daughter, they don't use names or an honorific, right? They never say, "Oh, mom, this," or which is kind of important. They don't. So it's as if at this level, it's all vibes, no names, right?
Well, I mean, that could also be an element of they're not typed to be Japanese, right? In the they might be speaking Japanese because it's written by Japanese people, but they might be typed to be. I'm trying to think of the thing that happens in a lot of anime. How dare you talk to me with such a familial tone? when like Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach, where he just talks to everybody as though they're on his level. There's no son or whatever honorific they might put at the end. He just calls you by name all the time, or older brother, or whatever the thing he might use. That they're just being typed as people who don't talk with that sort of cadence. That they just talk like what they think Westerners talk like to other people. And to be fair, it's Side 6, right? It's neutral territory where people from all over would have gone, so...
Like Babylon 5.
I don't think Side 6 is our best last hope for peace. Well, one thing, peace has already been achieved, and we did that through war.
Yeah, so...
Much like Babylon 5, actually. I assume... well, I was going to say, I assume we're not going to stay on Side 6 the whole time, but I think we actually are going to stay on Side... The element that Machu wants to go to Earth is a plot point that was set up in episode 1, and I would kind of assume, being a 12-episode length thing, that we're probably going to end on Side 6, but we're probably going to end up on Side 6 with a I'm leaving for Earth element. I've seen a lot of places that list this as Season 1 episode, whatever. With the idea being that maybe another season might come.
Or it's already being ordered. I think it's already being ordered.
I haven't heard anything about that. To be fair, though, I only check anime news like once every week, something like that. So I only see these things happenstance. Also, don't know that I would be reading anything about this series because, again, don't want spoilers. Like any indication of, well, I don't know. We're so early on in on this that I don't know what you could spoil. Like maybe next episode, as we saw in episode 4 when Machu blah 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 blah. So that's when they sign on for another season. So we can only anticipate, because usually it's they signed off on a new season after like the last episode is when you hear it typically. So when we last left our character, they were at this. So we can only assume that next season would be about their continuing journeys. Blah, 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 blah. So I would be heavily surprised that like 3 episodes in they signed on for a second season already.
Oh, I mean the movie did very well. They might go like, yeah, this is.
Yeah, but the movie, it's, again, the same thing. The movie would only be the first 4 episodes. That typically is what they do. Like, Fearin had the movie that came out before the show, and Fearin movie was just the first 4 episodes. Actually, technically, it wasn't even a movie. That was the difficulty I had when I was trying to start watching Fearin with Justin from the beginning. Because I wanted to find the movie so that we could start with the same way everybody else did. And the movie wasn't a movie, it was just an event that was all 4 episodes being broadcast back to back. And I'd never found the frickin' GQuuuuuuX movie. So, otherwise we would have started with that. And then we'd just been like going back over the first few episodes. But that never got released, I guess.
Have to wait until it drops into DVD or Blu-ray or something.
I guess after the whole series is completed. Buy the Blu-ray with added bonus material. Alright, well, this has been episode 3. I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stone-Faced Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?